Thank you, Dustin. I hope everyone notices that the improvement in mayors, they have better beards, better hair, they're younger, better looking. See, we're just getting better in Pittsboro. When I started, this is just to give you an idea of what's happened in town in terms of budget, where we're going. The budget was on a dot matrix printer, with old school Chatham. All the folks we sat there, we're looking at this thing, $400,000 in tax revenues in 2006. The last budget that Kyle worked on just with tax revenue, almost 5.4 million. So that growth is 1,248%. That is a significant growth in tax revenue, and it tells you about the change in Pittsboro. What I try to tell folks about serving your time in local government and working on policy and with state leaders and folks in Washington is, look, what we're doing here is we're like farmers in a way. We are planting seeds that we may not ever get out and actually go to the crops and see what happens. They're kind of like cicadas, right? So when I started, we started on the Jordan Lake Partnership over beers at my house with leaders, just talking about it. We don't have that water plant built yet. It may get built after you're done. But we have to start as leaders on these things and think to the future. 15501, you know we're going to have a bunch of improvements here. That started when I was mayor, and I knew it probably wouldn't get built till maybe I lost all my hair, which I have. The Tri-River Sanford Agreement. That started when I was mayor. We talked about it and talked about it. It went through multiple administrations, and to Kyle's credit, he got this thing put together and done. But that's the kind of way it works. You have to pass the baton, and you have to cooperate with your county and other folks around to kind of work for the citizens. So my view on it is essentially, it's kind of like, I've said this before, you want leaders, and Kyle exemplifies this, that do the three things in the Wizard of Oz. Can you all name the three characteristics they were looking for?
Heart.
You want a heart. Courage. And a brain. There are an awful lot of leaders out there that have brains and no heart and no courage. An awful lot of folks that have courage and no brain and heart. But you know what? When someone is smart and they have heart and they have the courage to do it, that is the kind of leader you should back. So I'm going to hand it off to our current mayor. He can tell you what's going on in Pittsboro.
Well, thank you, Randy. Very kind words. So I hope I live up to those. I am Kyle Shipp, current mayor of Pittsboro, and just thank all of you for being here this morning, and also just glad to have this space available. I was just having a meeting here a couple of weeks ago with some people from out of town, and they're just amazed looking out, around all that's happened from what they knew as Pittsboro even a few years ago. So really glad to have this here. My day job is construction, so that's a common misconception, is that this is a full-time job, which it might be, but that's not how the pay works for it. So full-time job in construction management, and then I started in the planning board because I was just interested in what was happening in what was going on. Didn't know about planning and zoning, all those things. So I got on the planning board. Somebody suggested I run for the town board. I told them no way, and then I did. So I was on the town board for 4 years, and then been the mayor since December now. So appreciate your trust and confidence there. Locally, I also work with the Boys and Girls Club, VFW, American Legion, Rotary, probably some others I'm forgetting. So lots of great organizations in town. So Randy had mentioned water, and I think that's the hottest topic here. I've dropped some propaganda strategically around. There's a booklet that we put out, but to say in short, the water in Pittsboro is the best in the state, and that has not always been the case. But about four years ago now, we invested $3.5 million to put in a granular activated carbon system, and I realized this at a mayor's conference the other day, as everybody's going around the room talking about, well, we spent our ARPA money on this, and we did this, and we had these big, community forums about how many greenways we wanted to put in with ARPA money, and this was ARPA money. We just spent all of our ARPA money on water filtration, and so that was a good choice. But it's, it was some lost opportunities that some other communities had with that. We also had to raise water rates significantly to pay for that. So, but the results are in. It's been operating for almost 2 years now, and the EPA actually just finally put in some standards for PFAS in drinking water that will take effect 5 years from now, and we already exceed those standards, and we have for 2 years now. So, thank you. Thank everybody.
I think Kyle deserves a round of applause because he actually voted to do that. The mayor doesn't vote, but when you're on the board, one of the challenges with the infrastructure issue over the years is we want the best water, but then getting 3 votes to get it, because people say, oh, the money. You get a round of applause for voting to do that, because I never could get them to vote to do that.
That's also for your bills going up, so thanks for your time. But, mentioned the merger, and then also with water treatment, we're also doing a pilot with a local company out of Burlington called Invicta Water. And so they have a new system to treat and destroy PFAS, and we're doing a pilot at the water plant now with them. So really promising technology. The one thing that the GACE does not take care of is 1,4-dioxane. So we've had sporadic releases of 1,4-dioxane from upstream. It is difficult to get out of the water once it's in there, so we actually sued the company that's the source of that, Apollo Chemical, and they are no longer discharging as a result of that. You'll often hear the solution to pollution is dilution, but really it's no pollution. So that's the way we went with that one. And if we see it again, we'll be surprised, and we'll, track down that source too. Mentioned the merger as well. So now there's a new entity, really the same. So Sanford, we merged with Sanford Water and Sewer. And so you'll see Tri-River water trucks around town now. So our employees that were Pittsboro employees are now Sanford employees, and Sanford is calling their wastewater system Tri-River Water. And that is because they're becoming more of a regional player. We have been partnered with Sanford, Chatham County, Holly Springs, and Fuquay on an expansion of the water plant in Sanford. And so that's continuing. There's actually a groundbreaking at the end of this month, now that it's October. And so we're going to do that groundbreaking. That's going to be a big expansion of their plant, and they are going to match our water treatment system with the GAC. So it'll be the same quality water that will be going to those 5 communities, really. And then, as Randy said, the Jordan Lake Western Intake Project is still in the planning process, and that will be further beyond that. So there's been a lot of talk too about the force main sewer capacity in Pittsboro, and I think a lot of the housing prices that Randy mentioned are due to a lack of sewer capacity for a long time in Pittsboro. So the force main is going to have a dramatic effect on that, and Sanford Tri-River Water is actually working on increasing the size of that line now. So while we had hoped to be under construction by now, they're actually making it better and making it last longer by increasing the size of that. So we're hoping for a construction start spring or summer next year for that, and for the additional capacity. So with the regional focus of the utilities, it gives us a lot broader picture, and we are able to have some sewer capacity now, and then we'll have a lot more on the way in the future. So the best thing I can say about any water and sewer questions right now are call Tri-River Water. So that's really great. But we're still happy to help answer any questions, be a liaison there. Sanford's been an incredible partner with us in that merger process, and it's gone really well. So couple other things. So some of the things I realized when I was on the planning board is that the planning board works off of whatever plans are out there, and doesn't necessarily make those plans that are out there. So we've been working on a UDO for a while. We got the UDO passed about 3 or 4 years ago, so Unified Development Ordinance, and that combines and sort of updates all of the things. And then I think most importantly with that is we got it completed 3 or 4 years ago, and we've updated it probably 8 or 9 times since then. So we do quarterly updates to the Unified Development Ordinance, make sure that we pick up any errors, sometimes people bring stuff to us and One of them, after we passed it, was, hey, it's not possible to build condos in Pittsboro the way that this is written, your setbacks and things, and so that wasn't the intent, and so we updated it. So the intent is to make that a living document, and then it's not a big project every 5 years to go through and do a major update, but it's a living document that moves along with what the town wants. One example that we just did there is called the Scenic Corridor Overlay District, and so that affects Hillsborough Street, and East Street, and West Street coming into town. And the goal there is to have it, to be frank, not have it lined with fast food, chains and car dealers and things like that. So there's some standards about what is allowed in those districts, and then also the setbacks and the trees and things like that. So, similar to what you saw when you came in today of, tree-lined Greenway, before you really get to any of the business uses, that's what our standard is now for Hillsborough Street, East Street, and West Street. And then we're working on Sanford Road, south of town. There's some different stuff there. So that's just an example of the ways that we're continuing to modify the UDO to make it work best for our community.
I got a question for you.
All right.
We worked on a Greenway plan many years ago that you guys have picked on. Tell the folks what you plan to do with that, because there's a lot of stuff you're going to be doing with Greenways.
Yeah. So Greenways are a standard now in all new development, and so the new developments have extensive Greenway in them, and then what we're really working to do is connect those to others. And so I'll talk about some developments coming up here in a little bit, but we've got the Robeson Creek Greenway that starts downtown right by the George Moses Horton Middle School, and then goes to Small Street right now. We're working on a continuation of that to the fairgrounds and by Food Lion there, and then that will eventually continue out to the plant as well. So a new development we just approved is going to put in additional 2,500 feet of Greenway, and so in the next few years, you'll be able to go from downtown to the plant on a Greenway, totally separate from the roads and sidewalks.
Can you say what a greenway is in terms of like what gets to go on it and doesn't get to go on it? Because I never lived in a city with a greenway, so it sounds like a green walking trail, but I don't really know what else it is.
You'll get to go on it.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, what are the uses?
Sure. So typically walking, strollers, maybe biking as well, but no like motorized vehicles and things like that. I think e-bikes are a weird, middle ground there. We don't necessarily. I don't even know that we have standards honestly yet, but wide walking trails, wide paved walking trails generally, and that's what we have in the Robeson Creek Greenway. It was gravel for a long time actually, and then every time it flooded, it washed out, and so then we put the blacktop, and it's been through multiple floods now and stays in good shape. So that's the goal.
Has anyone here been on the Robeson Creek Greenway? You all should go
Get
down
out
there.
there. It's
and
really nice.
It's a beautiful hike. It's gorgeous trees. It's very calming. Just go in there. Walk your dog or go with your family. It's a beautiful greenway.
It is. We also updated the land use plan this last year, so that sort of is the forward-looking, often called a future land use plan, but it becomes the current land use plan. And so that is when someone comes for a rezoning, someone comes and says what they want to do. That was a comprehensive update across town of what we want. And I think a big aspect of that is what we're calling, I forget now, like downtown expansion areas, basically. So looking to physically expand the size of downtown. We have an incredible downtown, and I think that's why a lot of us are here originally. We are size limited though, and so we've identified some areas near downtown where we expect that to expand over time. No immediate plans, nothing like that, but we want to start thinking towards that as new development comes and development changes. And then this last year we also did a strategic plan, and so there's a lot of priorities that we have. Even though our budget has expanded significantly, we still have limited money, and we can't create money other than from limited sources. So that strategic plan helps us focus on what the immediate needs are to spend money on, and then also the long-term needs, because we need to have that 15, 20-year perspective. We know that this town is going to grow significantly, and we need to be planning so we don't run into things in the future that we wish we would have done 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So that strategic plan helps guide us there and keep us focused on what's most important, and with our limited resources, which are called taxes in many cases. So Hillsborough Street is going to be widened, and this is an example of a NCDOT project that kind of rolls along with the state budget and funds availability. So you'll see actually now they're doing some tree removal to start relocating utilities. And so that's going to be a turn lane all the way from Northwood to the mill, most of the way to downtown, and then a greenway on one side and a sidewalk on one side, so a multi-use path. So wider sidewalk on one side, sidewalk on the other. And then we've also been able to add a downtown streetscape to that project as well. So we did the traffic circle a couple years ago and came up a little bit into town, and then the streetscape project will be the rest of the way through downtown on Hillsborough Street, and mostly focused on accessibility. So the places where you cross a crosswalk and run into a guardrail, we're going to fix those and really be focused on ramps and things like that downtown, but maintaining the brick sidewalks and all that stuff that we like about downtown.
So that's what I was talking about, planting seeds, where we started that in 2009, approved it in 2011, but DOT hasn't had the budget to do it, and Kyle's going to end up getting this implemented.
Well, it's going to start construction in 2026 and be done by 2028 is the goal right now.
So you can see the window, 17, 18 years
Yep.
from idea to getting done, but that will allow you to walk or bike from downtown all the way up to Northwood, which is pretty darn cool.
And then something we also just last meeting, I think we did the final approval on, is relocating 15501. So the designation of 15501 is going to move to 64 and 87 around town. What that allows us to do is prohibit trucks from downtown. So that's been a hot topic for a long time. So whenever those new signs go up in about the next year, those are going to actually prohibit trucks downtown. It makes it a lot safer for pedestrians. We'll be able to put in some additional pedestrian improvements that we can't put on a U.S. highway. And so it gives us a lot more flexibility with our roads and streets and pedestrian things downtown. It will have trucks going around downtown.
So I think we're down to the Q&A session. Does anyone have any questions for us? We had one earlier.
Does anybody have any questions? Please do. This is
Throw one out.
Is the strategic plan something we can see? Is it out there?
No, it's secret. No, it is out there.
It's out there.
It's on the website. Strategic plan. I'm not sure exactly if we have a separate section for it, but it's absolutely out there.
You can
Yep.
see it.
I have a question.
Oh,
Okay, hop on up.
Talking, any proactive zoning, as you're saying, you only approve what comes to you, and that's part of the problem, and one of the distinctions, what Randy was talking, why our prices are so high is because it's almost all new construction. Okay, so are we doing any proactive zoning for multi-housing or workforce housing? Because that is not what people are going to naturally build. Question number one. And two, isn't there something coming in front of the plant potentially?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh, okay. Proactive zoning. So what I would say about that is so the land use plan does help with that. The UDO and the standards we have in there helps with that as well. But a lot of the larger developments we see are through a conditional zoning process, which you have a lot more flexibility on. And we've been, I think, pretty successful in getting particularly affordable housing included in that. So the state limits us on what we can require for affordable housing, which is nothing. But we have a lot of developers who have been willing to work with us and understand the needs that we have in Pittsboro and include affordable housing in their development. So one example is Robeson Walk, which you mentioned. So that is it's about a 210 acre development from 64 going back to the plant and wrapping around the plant. Kind of wraps around the credit union and goes back to the plant and around the plant. That project actually came to us a few times, and at one point I think it was all single family homes, 1,200 single family homes spread across that 210 acres. We denied it at the time because it wasn't really what we were looking for as a community. And then they came back, and I think we denied them again because we didn't have sewer capacity. So then they came back and worked with us again. And so in its current iteration, which is approved now, we were able to get 72 acres of that land preserved as a town park. And so I think in the next week here, or a few weeks soon, we're going to have that 72 acres deeded to the town as a park. And that is the land that wraps around the plant and goes to the creek there. So that'll be pretty natural park. We're putting a group together to work on the plans for that now. The developer's gonna build a parking lot and a bathroom for that. And then, but the developer said they wanted to build, 1,000 to 1,200 units there. And that was their plan originally. And we said, that's okay, just go more dense. Let's use our land more wisely. So they're gonna do more dense development. There will still be 1,200 units there. But it will be on 130 acres instead of 210 acres. And so that's the developer that is going to put in 2,500 feet of Greenway. We're working on putting a linear park along East Street. So that just means kind of, wider things, winding sidewalks like it is now, some sculpture along there. They contributed $50,000 towards sculpture along that area. And they're also doing 10% of that development as affordable housing. And so these are the types of things that we're able to do by working through the conditional zoning process that aren't included, that we're not allowed to include in the regular UDO. So we are having some success with that, and we really have hundreds of units of affordable housing coming online soon. There's a 300 plus unit project, and then Habitat is also working on about 75 units right now behind the food line there. So lots of projects in the works for that, and they get priority for sewer capacity and some other things as well.
So before I unleash Gene Galin, the Kraken, on the local news, any more questions? Feel free if you have some. Yeah.
Okay. Kyle, would you give us an update on the proposed skate park for downtown Pittsboro?
Yes, great point. Skate park. Parks overall, we invested $1 million in existing parks last year. So McClanahan Street we did the tennis courts, we included pickleball lines, we did the basketball courts, and the skate park. We actually have a pre-construction meeting next week, I believe, and the skate park construction at McClanahan is gonna start construction in November. So that is happening, and it'll be done by the end of the year, they say. Oh, all right.
Yeah. We could stay here all day, but he has to go to another event.
Yeah.
And Jonathan's giving him the
Yeah.
Oscars music. Is
Put it together for Randy Cole.
And let me just say quickly, since Jonathan is helping me here, our staff is incredible, and they're what make my job easy and what hopefully make all of your experience easy. So when you call the town, somebody will pick up the phone. It won't be a menu, unless it's lunchtime or something maybe. But someone will pick up the phone. They'll be able to direct you to where to go. So I'm just really thankful for our staff and how well they do for our town. So thanks all for